As it should be.
Exactly.
Good. Okay, good. And what kind of time do you have right now?
We have an hour.
Great. I think that's all we need. This will be kind of installment number one.
Okay.
And I want you to think with 100% what we're doing here is to bring about kind of an ideal scene on creating a system.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to be walking you through this. This is one example. We'll do this on a few others. But I want you to get this, Kathleen, when you take a look at what you guys do and you do pretty well and you do pretty easily. I'm not saying you don't have challenges and I'm not saying there's not ups and downs. Yeah. Of course there are. But in doing so, you have acquired quite some competency, experience. You're very trained. You know how to communicate. You know how to do a bunch of things that really, quite honestly, not everybody and not many people know.
Thank you. Yeah.
So when we look at creating systems, we want to make it to where somebody could click this video who is unfamiliar with the training you've done, with the experience you have, and get an understanding that's sufficient for them to feel confident to take on the duty. They might not perform it as well as you. They might not have all the background and experience you have, but by watching this, they go, okay, good. I'm filling in for Kathleen today. I don't have a training, I don't have experience, but I'm going to watch this and I'm at least going to know what to do or say and what the various points are along the sequence. Subsequent to this video, we are going to put all the documentation together. We're going to have the video, the documentation, and then we're going to create a flow chart for the line, the production line, or the production lines that we discuss in this, okay? And I'm going to be walking you through that process because that process is new to you. What we're going to talk about today is not new to you. But the process of creating a production line and documenting a production line so that somebody can study that and parallel that in time and motion.
Okay.
Not necessarily with the full background that you have, and at least understand theoretically what's it supposed to look like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to be making a couple notes as we go through this.
Perfect.
Okay. So, and I'm going to be using this myself for a training tool for other clients. Okay. So from your perspective, I want you to be answering these questions and going through this as you would for any staff member who's brand new to the practice, covering for the practice. So we're not going to reference a bunch of things that maybe they're not familiar with. Okay. You're currently using, Bloomberg Digital as a funnel and others and stuff. And that might change. So we're just going to refer to the marketing funnel generically. We're going to refer to certain things without using terminology that somebody brand new on the job might not have. Does that make sense?
Yes.
While you and I might be able to talk in code and and stuff like that, for the sake of this, we're going to talk for a person who might not have that training. Okay. Good. So what we're going to do is, you have analyzed a bit of where your flow is coming in from to get you these higher quality, higher value implant cases. And what we always do is we go kind of backwards from the flow. And I want you to think with this. You have the have, that's what we have. What did you do in order to have that? And the be, what needed to be in place for that? What was the beingness of the people involved at that time? How professional were they? How punctual were they? So we're gonna go backwards from the have. We want to have a nice high value implant case completed with a patient who's walking out beaming with absolute success personally and being a vibrant, ambassador, not just for your practice, but for the possibility of what can happen with full mouth rehabilitation. All right. So that's kind of the have. They are paid in full. They have been compliant to your instructions. They have been appreciative of your efforts. That's the have.
Okay.
Good. So now we're going to go, what did we need to do in order to have that? We're not going to talk today about the clinical. The clinical is over to the doctor and the clinical team. I know that you do sit in for some of that. So if there's needful notes about that, not necessarily the clinical aspect of it, but from the interpersonal aspect of it, when you're there in the room with the patient, when they're having a hard time, when they're having second thoughts, that doesn't have to do with the clinical, right? That has to do with the personal. So that's the do. And then what's the beingness, and the beingness can be compassionate. It could also be overly blubby, right? Like, oh, it's so good that you're here. I'm so glad that you're so good. We're going to take yeah.
Lots of reassurance.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the first of the line. You've just received an implant lead.
Okay.
Just received an implant lead. You get notified through your dashboard.
Yes. Yep. We get a dashboard notification and an email.
Good. So in that, what do you do next? Let's pretend that Joe Smith lead just came in. What are you going to look for in the dashboard? What are the things that you're checking for in the dashboard or in the email? What do you go, oh, that's missing. I need to know that. I need to go into the card, right? The card in the dashboard and look into, or do you go watch the recording? Tell me that process.
So when an initial call comes in for our marketing funnel, we get an email, we get an alert on our dashboard. So then the first thing I do is I click into the link that they provide us, and I just go through the quick check to make sure that one, it looks real. We get some very interesting made up emails. So, if it's a made up email or it's a number where it's like 5555555, immediately just like double check validity. So if the name, people like to make up fun names too. We've seen all sorts of wordplay. So just the number one thing is checking that those three things look legit. If they don't look legit, then you don't want to, waste your time on it. So click into that. Once I see, okay, all those check out, real zip code, real name, real everything, then I click in, I look at the survey that we get. Sometimes people spend a lot of time on those surveys, sometimes they don't. So the first thing I do is I look at are you happy with your smile? That's our first question. Most times it says no, right? If they're looking for it, obviously there's a reason they're not happy. And then I go to the why. And then from there, I'll briefly read down the rest of it. I'll look at the credit score. I'll look at possibility of cosigner, things like that. And then within those first few minutes, we make our first phone call.
Great. Now let's talk about, in looking through the survey, what are some of the other things you look for that make a meaningful importance to you, and which maybe take away from this as a valid lead? Tell me some of the other warning signs to you and some of the oh my gosh, this is very good information to have.
So some of the things where they are more descriptive. Okay, I'm missing one tooth. I've been missing it for 2 years. I'm ready to get help. But then we also, some of our questions have I feel hopeless about my situation. So you can check tone right there. If they're answering those things where it's I want to help myself, there's an initiative, how ready are you? That's another big one. So we have one that says, how ready are you? It's extremely ready to go, still looking, or not really sure. So if they're higher up on that scale, it's a lead you definitely want to reach out to immediately. So that's one thing I really look for. I do look at credit score because we want to know, we don't want to call them and say, hey, we're going to talk to you about full mouth implants, and it says their credit score is below 500 without a possibility of cosigner. So we do look at that because then we know how we can approach it. If we're going to call them and say, hey, I know that you were interested in implant, full mouth rehabilitation, or if we're calling and say, hi, we got a survey that you filled out saying that you were interested in dental work. It's different ways that you approach it.
Good. So tell me kind of the credit score that you go, okay, good, I can work with this. The credit score that you're I need to ask some questions, and what are those questions? And the credit score that you're okay, good, we're not going to be able to work with this. I'm going to get to these immediate questions. And what are those questions? Yeah.
So the more towards the mid low 600s is where a lot of our financing companies start dropping off whether they'll approve. Some of them will approve, but you're looking at insane interest rates. You're looking at sometimes 24.99%, big interest rates. So when I see a patient that has a lower credit score, one of the questions that I ask them throughout the process is, how motivated are you to make this happen? I saw that you have a low credit score. Do you have other ways that you could finance? We've had patients that had low credit score, but they had a few cars. They were able to sell a car. It's all about how motivated they are. So when you're asking them those questions, saying, oh, you know, I do have a couple properties that I own. I'd be looking to sell this off. We had a farmer who sold a tractor. Where there's a will, there's a way. So when you talk to them, they're like, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for this. I have no help from a co-signer. I don't even know if I would be able to ask somebody. You know, it's really embarrassing to ask for help. Then you can kind of gauge on how serious they are about this treatment and how big the want is.
Great. And for, yeah, that's great. And for what we always say on this point is willingness. And this is what we go over with the ABCs on you know, the communication and sales seminar, is that willingness is a higher qualification than their credit score. If a person has a very high willingness, they will move mountains to get the treatment.
They'll find a way. They'll always find a way to do it.
Great, good. And any other sort of concerns or, hey, come on in?
There she is. I told him you were presenting.
Okay, great. So Beth, just to bring you up to speed, so we're recording this. This is going to be a training tool used for here forward for your staff. You guys might be, you know, off running 27 practices in 17 years from now and dominating. There are people who are going to be watching this that may never have even met you, okay, that are now running the practice in your stead because you guys are big executives doing bigger other things. That could happen. Or it could be the person who just walked in as a new staff member next week, and they're going to be watching this to get an orientation because they're part of this process. So we're not going to use terminology they might not know because they haven't been through the MGE training. We're not going to use references to certain, you know, companies or this or that. We're going to refer generically to things because, you know, you're currently using Bloomberg Digital and such on your marketing. That may change. I'm not saying it's going to, but I'm just saying we're going to say, okay, good. So a marketing lead comes in and here's what we do. Does that make sense, Beth?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm also, just a full disclosure, I'm using this as training for others because your wisdom is going to help others overcome some of the madness that they're currently running into. So, so good. So Kathleen, so we've talked about that. Are there any other red flags on the survey that you look for, or things that you go, oh, this is really very good data, or this is incomplete and I really want to get this question answered as you go through the survey when you've clicked into it on the dashboard?
I would say if they leave blank, like what they're looking for, why they're there, like, yes, they say like, I don't like my smile, but they don't elaborate or anything like that. That's one of our first questions. Because I saw that you were interested in dental work. Can you tell me what's been going on that brought you to looking into this?
So you basically complete it.
Yeah. If there's any unanswered questions, one of the first things you want to do is complete those answered questions. Because otherwise just I think that touched on credit score and then missing survey questions. Is there anything else that's like a red flag for you?
Not really a red flag. I mean, co-signer too, if they say they don't have somebody who can co-sign for them and they also put in like a not a good credit score.
Yep. Good. So that just raises not a flag, but it's like a point that you need to jump on and ask that question and get that fulfilled. And when you do that, do you update the original note or do you add a secondary note to the dashboard?
I usually just add in a note, a separate note.
That's what I do too, with my initials or her initials. So that way you know the source it's coming from.
Fantastic.
And the
Great. Good. So now let's say we've got somebody. The survey seems relatively complete. There might be a couple questions. I'm Joe Smith. Okay. I've completed the survey. I've given moderate data, and you could invent the scenario as you go through it. I'm going to be the patient. You're going to reach out to me. I have put that my credit score is a 640. It's multiple implants, and I've suffered for quite a long time, and I currently have dentures. And now this is going to be a phone call initially, right? You're going to call me. Okay, good. And then are you going to set up a virtual, or are you going to have me come in?
we've been doing just come in.
Great. Good. So let's go ahead and initiate that. You've got the data. Do you need to ask me any other questions about the scenario? Kathleen, you're going to be carrying the phone call.
Okay.
Good.
You said your name was Joe Smith.
Joe Smith. Hello, this is Joe.
Hi, Joe. This is Kathleen calling from Salvatore Dental. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm sorry, you're from where?
Salvatore Dental.
Okay.
I was calling because I know that you have filled out that survey saying that you might be interested in dental implants. So I just wanted to reach out to you and find out more information.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you for calling me. I forgot about that, but yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem.
Yeah.
So how long have you been missing your teeth for?
It's been about 7 years. Actually, I lost one about 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then they did a bridge, and then that bridge broke and I lost another one. And then, I don't know, it almost seems like I've got something wrong in that area, because then I lost a third tooth. Now I've got dentures. Now fourth one is kind of loose. And that's holding my denture in place. So I just kind of feel like it's, it's getting worse and getting worse.
So you've really been through a lot when it comes to dental work.
I don't think so, because I'm 65 years old. I don't think this is, I've got lots of friends that are in way worse shape, but
Yeah.
I would say this is that I don't enjoy the denture. And I think I've got some stuff that's wrong on the bottom, and I'm getting the idea, like if I ended up in dentures on the top and the bottom, it just would be, it's not very pleasurable to have dentures in my mouth.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. I know that you said that you're having some issues on the bottom too. Are you currently in any pain? Number one, we want to make sure that you're not experiencing any pain.
There is sensitivity. I'm not a big fan of going to the dentist, so
I understand that. Yeah, we hear that every day. Don't worry.
Yeah, I must admit, I haven't been to the dentist for a couple of years. I did go, and I told them specifically just adjust my denture. The last time I went in, I didn't want to talk about anything. I didn't want an exam, and I had to kind of convince them into that. They didn't like that, and I understand, but I just wanted my denture adjusted. I did have a little something that was not ideal, that they said they see something. I said, listen, it's not hurting. Well, now it is hurting, and I've got a tooth that's not doing so well there on the bottom. So that kind of drove me. It's a friend of mine said he had gotten implants, and he lives on the other side of the country. I didn't know too much about what that was. I did a little searching about it. There's 18 trillion articles about it.
Yes, there is, for sure.
So anyways, when I saw your little thing on social media, I decided, let me just fill this out.
Well, that's a great step. I know you said that you haven't been to the dentist in a while. So to take the step to reach out, that's huge. So great job on that.
Yeah.
What I can do is, I know that you're looking for information, and I want to make sure that you get the information that you're looking for and that you need. So why don't we do this? Why don't we get you scheduled for a free consult with Dr. Rich? We'll have you come in. We'll take a CT scan. He'll sit down and go over everything with you. So that way you can get all of your questions answered, and you can have, a good idea moving forward. Okay.
Well, and I'm cool with that. I just want to say this. My friend in California, he said he ended up spending close to $60,000 on his mouth. I'm not looking to. I don't have $60,000. I'm not looking to spend that money. I could be gone in 2 weeks from now. I mean, and I could be around for a while. But I want to be very transparent that I am not in a position like my friend in California financially. And I just don't feel, I don't want to lead you down a road. And when I saw, I did fill out my credit score.
I did see that. Yeah.
And, but I was even hesitant to do so, because I just kind of feel like, I don't know that that's necessarily your business at this point in time. Please don't take offense to that, but I did complete it, but I just want to be very clear where I'm at.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And I respect where you're coming from. The reason that we do ask that is because we do have a number of different financing companies that would be able to hopefully help you break it up into monthly payments that are more manageable for you. So that's why we do ask that. So that way we have an idea, that way when you come in, we can see what we can do to help you.
Okay, but I'm just saying here, I am not committing to this by any means, right?
No problem at all. I totally understand.
Yeah.
All I'm asking you to kind of commit to right now is just coming in for a free consult to meet with Dr. Rich to see how we can help you get out of pain.
Okay, and there's no obligation.
No, not at all. No obligation, and the CT scan is free. Dr. Rich is going to go over everything with you and we'll go from there.
Okay, and you said a city scan? What's a city scan?
So it's a CT scan. Sorry, that's a big word, I know. So what it is it's basically just an X-ray that spins all the way around your head, and it creates this 3D model. So Dr. Rich can see your bone levels, everything that's going on, and see where that pain's coming from, which is number one.
Okay. Yeah, because very, very, very minimally, I think I should get this lower left side looked at. You know, there's
Yeah.
something going on there. And if I decide not to go forward with the implants because of the cost or whatever, you guys could give me an estimate or whatever it is you do of what it would cost to get this thing looked at and fixed.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
We'll look at the full amount when you come in.
Great. Okay, good. Well, that sounds good. I guess I would, will I be, you know, anesthetized, or can I drive home from the appointment?
Yeah, so this is just an initial consult. So what you'll do is you'll come in. It's not going to be anything invasive. We'll just talk after we take that X-ray. So you'll be able to drive yourself. If you do have someone else that you make decisions with, then I would definitely bring them with you to the appointment.
Well, anything that I do that's of significance, you know, I always involve my wife. We've been married for years and years and years. She's actually the one that's told me to, you know, get moving on this and don't wait. I mean, I don't think I need her for a dental appointment, you know, just to talk. But do you think she should be there?
Yeah, I would definitely have her come in with you, because especially when you have a doctor start talking to you about different things, it's always good to have a second set of ears there. So that way you guys can make a decision together if anything comes up.
Okay. Yeah. And actually, you know, sometimes I forget certain things that she remembers. So that's
My husband does the same thing.
Yeah.
So I completely understand.
Okay. So if it's going to be both of us, it's going to have to be it's probably going to have to be a Thursday, because she volunteers down at the
Okay.
shelter and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
that's amazing. Yeah. So I actually have this Thursday open. I have a 9 a.m. Does that work for you guys?
move it a little bit fast for me. I'd need to talk to her. I could talk to her and see, but I'd probably feel better about next Thursday.
Next Thursday? Why don't we do this? Why don't I put you in for this Thursday, and I'll put a block in for next Thursday. You talk to her and then call me right back.
Okay, so you're just penciling it. You're not inking it in right now, right? You're just penciling it in. Meaning
What we'll do is we'll ink it.
this Thursday, like, so it's tentative, right? Like I got to talk to her and then I'll call you back.
Yep, you call me back, but either way, I'll put you in for next Thursday as well, and we'll make sure
Okay.
that you come in.
Okay, good. I guess, do I call you back today, or you call me back after I
I'll
talk?
call you back before 4 o'clock.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'll have spoken to her by that time.
Okay, perfect.
Great. And I'm sorry, what's your name?
My name's Kathleen,
Okay, I'm just going to write that down. And what's your company name?
Salvatore Dental.
Okay, and where are you guys located?
We're at 127 Dunning Street in Malta, New York. But what I can do is, why don't I text you our address and all of the information that we talked about?
That'd be good. Yeah, because I don't know exactly where that is, but it can't be that. It's Malta. It's, you know, within like 25 minutes.
Yeah, not too far.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great.
I'll
Thank you for
text.
calling.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you then.
Good. All right. So would you say that's kind of a standard usual?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What are some of the curveballs you get thrown on that initial call? Not that that's the usual, but what are some of the curveballs that you get thrown, and how do you deal with those curveballs?
I think the biggest one is I don't have the money, or like
Mhm.
they already think they know how much it's going to cost.
Good. So, so what I want you to do, Beth, is I want you to give that scenario to Kathleen, and Kathleen, I want you to handle it. And just show me, Beth, I want you to just say, be that person. And you can be a little bit, you know, you can be a little bit prickly right now. Does that make sense? So, not nasty, but prickly. Okay. So let's take that scenario all the way up to, where does that generally come out, Beth? Does that generally come out at the appointment, when you're trying to schedule the appointment?
I feel like it ranges, but like it's usually in the beginning, like when I
Yeah,
say,
pretty
like,
early.
you know, if they say they are already looking for implants, and then I always ask them, like, how do you know you need implants? Have you spoken to someone? Have you been somewhere else?
Good.
And then most of the time it's like, oh, well, I'm missing a couple of teeth. I've seen online implants and I know online they're expensive.
Good. I want you to roll the scenario, Kathleen, from the very beginning phone call. Beth, you just go along. You guys just play with the data as you go along, okay?
Ring, ring.
Wait, you're
I'm calling you.
okay. Hello, this is Beth.
Hi, Beth. This is Kathleen calling from Salvatore Dental. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to reach out to you because I saw that you had filled out a survey online in regards to dental implants.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm missing a couple teeth.
Okay.
And you know, I went somewhere and they told me I could get like a bridge or a partial, but you know, I'm really looking for something permanent.
Okay. Good. Well, I'm glad that you already have talked to someone, so you kind of know what you need. How long have you been missing those teeth for?
For maybe like 5 years now.
Okay. No problem. So I know that you said that you've already looked some other places. So what? I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Just rock and roll. Just pick it up from there.
Okay. So I know that you said that you've already looked some other places and already had some consultations. So what were their suggestions?
Well, I mean, they told me if I wanted a partial, you know, it'd be like, you know, a couple $100 for my partial. And then, you know, they kind of gave me this bridge option. And, you know, I was looking about, you know, a couple thousand. And then, you know, I was kind of looking at the implant options. I checked online and, you know, they're way more than a bridge.
Yeah. Implants are a little bit more costly than a bridge, but the good news is we do have a lot of different financing options. So if that was something you are interested in, we can look into those and break it up into more affordable monthly payments for you.
Okay.
If that's
Yeah, I mean, I read online that like a single implant costs like $5,000.
It does kind of depend on what you need. It would depend if we have to do an extraction, things like that. So the best thing to do to be able to give you the most accurate estimate possible would be to have you come in, see Dr. Rich for a free consult, and we can go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
And you said you have financing options?
Yes, we do have new
Okay.
financing options.
Okay. And do you know like about how much it might cost me monthly?
It would honestly depend on the cost of treatment, but we have many different options that offer quite a few different terms to be able to find one that works best for you.
Okay, I guess I'll come in.
Perfect. Let me get you scheduled.
Great. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you for that. Great.
Yeah.
I lost my train.
Yeah. What other scenarios do you run in that would constitute a curveball or something that would be a little bit out of the ordinary?
We do, I would say, run into a lot of people that have been missing teeth for many, many years that might not qualify for implants. They're very interested in implants, but when we call them and they say they've been missing teeth for like 20 plus years and they're just now, you want to kind of walk the line where you can't promise them that they're going to be a candidate for implants, but you want to at least have them come in, we can take a look and see what's going on. I feel like sometimes you're that as well.
Good. I'd like you two to do that scenario as well.
Okay.
Good.
Good one. Sure.
Okay. You calling me?
Sure. Ring, ring.
Hello, this is Beth.
Hi, Beth. This is Kathleen from Salvatore Dental. How are you today?
Oh, I'm okay.
Okay. Well, I wanted to reach out to you because I saw that you were interested in looking into some dental implants.
Yeah, you know, I've been missing my teeth for I don't even know how long. I'm 50 now, and I think I got them pulled when I was 30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So in that time, have you had a denture or?
Yeah. I barely wear the lower one. Never stays in.
Never stays in. When you're eating or just all the time?
Just all the time.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. I know that that's probably really frustrating for you, so I want to try and find a way that we can help you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen anyone since, you know, I got my denture back when I was 30. So I've read a little online in regards to dental implants, and I just think that would be a good option for me because, you know, I'm still young and I want to eat.
Yeah, I completely agree. You are definitely still young. and dental implants are a great option for helping get some stability. The biggest thing is we do want to get you in for a full x-ray so we can kind of see how the bone looks and everything. Since it's been quite a few years since you've seen a dentist, the best thing to do is to have you come in for a free consult, take a look at the bone and see what would be the best options for you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Great.
Perfect. Okay. So any other curveballs that you guys are thrown that require just a slight difference of handling?
I feel like those are,
I feel like you've had a good one in the past, a couple times, where it's like a husband and wife or something, and they make all decisions together, but the wife has apparent no idea what's going on in the husband's mouth.
Gotcha.
We run into that sometimes too.
Okay. And so how would you handle that? And where does that come to view? Does that come to view on the phone call, or does that come to view in the consult?
I feel like in the console.
In the consult, yeah.
Okay, good.
Sometimes on the, but yeah, mostly the consult.
Okay, good. And in that case, they are together there, the both of them, or not?
We have it where they didn't bring the wife or significant other, whoever, and they don't even know that they're at the dentist. We've had it that they don't know what's actually going on, but they're sitting in the waiting room. We had one guy who was making his own teeth in his garage, so his wife had no idea. I'm not kidding.
Awesome. That is awesome. Okay, good. Good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a scenario where I'm the patient, I've come in, I've gotten my consult, and invent the scenario and the cost of the treatment plan. Kathleen, what would be, let's just pretend, just take a usual.
Pretty typically lately, we're doing 56,000. I feel like.
Okay, good. So I want you to lay out what that is, you know, and play, because obviously the doctor has diagnosed it officially. What does doctor do in the room, and where does he hand it off to you? Is he present with you in the room? I know that that varies, but tell me a little bit about that.
Most times he handles the initial presentation. So he says, this is the best option for you. This is what it entails. It entails this long of a surgery. If they're doing anesthesia, okay, we'll schedule with the anesthesiologist. And then he always handles the number first.
Okay, good. So he's said the number.
Yeah.
Patient goes into cardiac arrest.
Yes. And then we can recess.
Okay, good. Okay. So what does he generally say at that point? Because you've been in the room when he's laid that initial figure, and a person goes into panic and shock, and I don't have that kind of money.
Yes. So he'll say, sometimes he tries to make light of it. So he'll say, I know I just gave you like a really big number. So now that you're mad at me, I'm gonna have Kathleen come in. She's gonna go over everything and break it down for you. If they're in the back consult room, which is like an actual operatory, then sometimes he'll have us come with him. So he'll introduce us. He'll be like, Kathleen's right here, or Beth's right here. She's gonna walk you up front to the consult room. If they're in the consult room, then he just says, you know, Kathleen's gonna take over from here, or I'm gonna go grab Beth. They're gonna come in and just go over more of the financial information with you. And he always finishes, but if you have any questions, I'm just right down the hall. Kathleen or Beth, they know to grab me. If you have any comes up that they can't answer. And then he usually says, but I'm sure they can answer anything that you need.
Great. Okay, so let's take it from there. So Dr. Rich has just walked out, and here we are. Wow. I mean, I want this, and I got excited in there, but I had no idea, Kathleen, that this was going to be costing that much. So I think we're kind of at the end of this appointment, and I appreciate all of your guys' time, but
yeah, I completely understand that number is a big shock, especially if it's not something you were expecting.
definitely.
So I totally understand. So why don't we do this? Part of my job is to come in and help you figure out a way to achieve this goal, if this is something that you really, really want to do. So since you're here, since you have time, let's just go through some of the financing options, so that way, if you decide that this is something that you do want to do, you already have all that information. You don't have to come back in. So why don't we just sit down, go over everything, and we'll just kind of take it from there, one step at a time.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So I have a number of different lenders. Now I know that the number you and he talked about was $56,000, Would you be looking to finance the whole thing, or would you be interested in putting some money down to save your monthly payments?
Well, to be quite honest, I thought this treatment might be as much as, $5,000, maybe $10,000. And I was going to, take some out of my savings, which I can do without penalty. I wouldn't be touching any of my retirement such. So I thought 10,000 was going to be on the worst case scenario. Again, my fault. I'm not telling you that what you're saying, I honestly had no clue that this is what this stuff kind of costs.
No, I completely understand. And that's why we always have patients come in for a free consult, because we want to give you the time to get all the information and then process everything that we're going over with you.
Okay.
So let's go with the idea for now, just for numbers' sake, that you would put down $10,000.
Okay.
So we have a number of different lenders, so we'll go through them. Now, it's not a hard pull on your credit, just a soft check initially. If we decide to move forward, then they do a hard check. But for now, let's just put in some numbers and see what we can do.
I don't know if I know the difference between a hard check and a soft check.
So if we were to do, say, a hard check on your credit, it would stay on your credit, where a soft check initially is on your credit and then it falls off.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so since we're looking to say do 10,000 down, so we'd be looking to finance 46,000. So a couple different lenders that'll go up to that amount. So let's go through, enter all the information. There's some information I can get from your chart and some that I'm gonna need from you. So I just usually go through, put in all the information I have, and then we get to the, okay, so what would you say is your annual income for the year?
Well, I'm, sitting now as, semi-retired, probably around, 55, 60, something like that.
Okay, great. And do you have any additional income in the household to report? Your spouse, any other sources of income?
Not really.
Okay, no problem. And then do you rent, own, or other?
We own our house.
Okay, and what's your share of the mortgage?
How do you mean my share?
So sometimes with couples, they split up their mortgage. So one handles this half, one handles the other half.
That's weird.
Yeah, one person is fully responsible. So what's your portion of your mortgage?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we share everything. So we pay the mortgage, which, we had it, the house mostly paid off, but we then took out a second just to do some renovations and stuff like that. So our mortgage is now, I don't know, it's about $1,700 a month.
Okay, no problem. So I'll put everything in, run it. So here's the list of terms. So what I'm going to do is, I know that it looks a little confusing because it looks like I'm not doing anything on the computer because we have a privacy screen. So I'm going to print it out so that way we can lay out all of them in front of you with all the terms. So print out all the lenders.
Good. Now let's talk about, so what lenders are you using?
Okay. So the initial lender that I start with, I usually start with Allegro. So that's
this is between us now. So this is just
oh,
from
just between us. Okay.
Yeah. We put the scenario on pause. Let's talk about the lenders and why and in what order.
So currently, I would say my go-to would be Allegro. They have a very high approval rate. They go up to 45,000, and then the lowest that they'll finance is 12,000. They are the waterfall for care credit. So if it's over 12,000 with care credit, you go to Allegro. If it's under with Allegro, then you go to care credit.
Gotcha. And then what sort of credit score do they generally need in order for you to see those kind of approvals?
I think they're low 600.
Yeah, I believe they're 630, 640. Right.
But they've been approving a lot of people recently. So
okay, good. So that's Allegro. What other credit institutions?
Then I would say Proceed is another great one. They go up to 75,000. And they offer up to 10-year terms.
Yeah.
So that's a great option. Allegro only goes out to 84
months. And then why would Proceed be your second go-to instead of Allegro?
They have higher interest rates typically.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Interest rates for Allegro, typically for decent credit.
For Allegro, I mean, probably 10%.
Okay, and for Proceed?
If you choose, they're 84.
Yeah, if you turn, they're 84.
Because Allegro has a deferred no interest 2 years.
Gotcha.
So if you paid off within 2 years, no interest.
Great. And Proceed?
Proceed, the highest I've seen with them is like
Pretty high.
24.99%.
Okay. And more
So the-
average would be more average. What would be the more average?
12, yeah, 13.
Okay.
12.99, yeah.
They also do cater to a little lower credit score than
Mhm.
Allegro. So
Such as,
I want to say maybe high 500s.
okay.
I believe they said.
But don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause
Good.
They
And-
have, they have lending point too. So if you don't get approved for Proceed, you have lending point.
Understood. Good. And what other credit institutions?
Lending Club,
Yeah, they've been approving people.
yeah, we've had a lot with them. We also use Alpheon, not as much. And then Care Credit, but Beth and I typically don't really do Care Credit because it doesn't cover the higher procedures.
What do you see on Lending Club? What are their limits?
They go to
As
50, right? Lending Club?
wait, money or terms?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, money and then terms.
I think they're 84 months
Mhm.
for a one-time loan. They do also have a revolving line.
Okay.
But
Good.
usually their interest rates are around 13. as well,
Actually, I've been,
sometimes higher.
their lowest was 9.47.
Even 9.47.
Yeah,
That's pretty
Okay.
good. I haven't seen that.
the lowest I've had
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's the lowest I've heard from them.
for a long
Okay.
term.
And then what is the process that you guys go through you check all those? You get a soft pull on all those companies?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And do you have a service that you use to do that? Or is it manually you're checking this for each one?
We manually.
Yeah, unless they're a pre-qualification,
Yeah.
we manually do it, or a preset, unless they're a preset. We do all the pre-quals ourselves, but it's pretty easy one and quick. It doesn't take too long.
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
Okay, good. And then you just do it, you just open up a bunch of different windows, a bunch of different tabs and just rock and roll. Okay, good.
Yeah, I start with one, once that's done, print those terms, go to the next. And I let them know, okay, I'm gonna try the other one now.
Mhm.
And I say, okay, I have a third one. Do you want me to also try the third one, or do you want to go over the first two right now? Because if they have a terms that they like with a Lego or Proceed, then I'm not just gonna keep doing soft pulls on their credit.
Yep.
So I usually ask them there, and sometimes they'll say, no, I just want a third option. Got that,
Yeah.
everything out in front.
Some people come in specifically knowing like, I want the 2 years interest free,
Yeah,
or like, I want just an interest free option.
Mhm.
So then we don't have to run every single option.
yeah, we just go immediately to the interest rate.
Good. And so the interest-free option would be?
Allegro. But they
Good.
have to be able to pay it off in that
2 years.
48 months, otherwise they get,
Yeah,
or yeah,
24.
24 months, otherwise they get hit with,
Oh,
all the
large,
interest.
Yeah.
you get all the benefits from the original loan terms, not have left to pay.
Okay.
And it's usually a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like, before they do that, we always are like, are you sure
Mhm.
you want to do this and you're gonna pay it off?
Gotcha. Great. Good. And the low interest go-to finance company would be?
Honestly, I don't know. Allegro.
Depending on their credit.
Allegro, yeah.
I mean, if they want, their 84-month option with their interest rate is pretty low.
Great. Good.
And they
So
are-
we've gone through that. Yeah, go ahead.
Allegro is currently piloting longer terms
And I
Wow.
think more money.
and yeah, a higher amount. We're in their pilot program now. I don't think all offices have Allegro yet. We were selected to be a part of it. But now they're running longer terms and a higher dollar amount.
Great. Great. Good. So then now we've done that. I choose a plan that is most amenable to me.
Mhm.
And I say, okay, good. So I would say, Kathleen, that I'd probably be most interested in this plan with this rate and that, but I do need to discuss this with my, both my accountant and my
Mhm.
wife.
Okay, I totally understand that you want to make a decision with her. The best thing is for her to get, if any questions come up, is for her to get the information directly from the source. So would you be able to call her so I can talk with her, Dr. Rich can talk with her while you're in here? So any questions that come up, we can answer?
You mean call her literally, right, kind of shock her with this $56,000 price tag over the phone?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that if we're able to call them, and I know it's initial shock, just like you had, but if we can kind of talk to them and explain the process and how we can break things down for you, usually it goes a long way.
Okay. Well, I suppose so. I think I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if we did it in person. Maybe we could come back. We're planning a vacation. So we could be back in here like, 2 or 3 months on the very outside, and we could discuss this.
Well, when do you leave for your vacation?
We're probably going to be leaving, let's see, a week from Friday.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Dr. Rich has some time tomorrow afternoon.
Mhm.
Why don't, since it's still fresh in your mind, and I don't want you to forget any of those questions or anything that comes up, let's schedule a time for you and your wife to come in tomorrow with Dr. Rich. So that way all of your questions are answered while it's still fresh in your mind.
Okay.
And the other thing is this approval that we did is only good for 30 days. So I would hate to have the interest rates go up or anything on you. So let's just speak with him, get all your questions answered, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. All right. Well, and I guess we could just try calling her right now and seeing how that goes.
Okay, yeah. So why
Okay.
don't we do this? I'll have you call her,
Mhm.
and then you can kind of talk with her through it. And then whenever she has a question, or if you want me to speak with her, then just let me know and I'll be right here.
Okay, good. So you're okay if I talk to her off of speakerphone initially?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, good. I think that's a great scenario. Any other scenarios that come in as curveballs during the actual treatment presentation formally?
I feel like we've run into so many things that it's just not anything that can really,
I feel like those are the biggest ones.
Mhm.
yeah.
Like the
Think
ones
of
we
anything else that catches you off guard or sometimes is a showstopper and you're unable to proceed.
We, not often, but every now and then we'll get a patient that comes in and wants treatment. They seem very willing. They talk with Dr. Rich. They seem super excited. And then Beth and I get in there and they're like, okay, so what if we make a deal? If I'm on your billboard or something, you'll do this work for free. Then you're like, that puts a stop to things very quickly.
Sure. So they're basically trying to get free service and I'll be your
Your spokesman.
yeah. Good. And
Like,
what do you say to that?
couple.
What do you say?
I say, I would love for you to be a spokesperson for us, but unfortunately, we still need to talk about finances because a lot goes into this treatment. But, once you have the treatment, I would love for you to do a testimonial or something with us. Once you're completely happy with your new smile, I would really love that.
Great. Beautiful. Good. What other kind of randos, things that come up that I'm not saying this is a routine occurrence, but something that might come up that somebody goes, that's a good one.
also just people who come in who maybe say, oh, I have a great credit score, or I don't know my credit score. And then, we do the pre-quals and they don't get pre-approved for anything. You kind of like, well, now what?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And you've done the scan, you've done the treatment presentation by the doctor.
Yeah.
You get them in and you'll do that without the credit score?
So we'll do like the CT scan and we'll sit down with Dr. Rich. We'll do that without the credit score, but we won't do any like impressioning or digital like 3D model scans. We'll only do the initial X-ray scan.
Great. Okay, good. So what is the time spent on the scan and the presentation by Dr. Rich?
Typically, so we book the consults for an hour.
Okay.
Typically, our flow lately has been, I work them up personally. So I do the CT scan, I bring them back to the room and I spend maybe 5-10 minutes doing that, depending on how many questions, or sometimes when you start talking to people about themselves, it's their favorite hobby. So
Yeah,
you get into some circuits sometimes. So you go around that. And then I load the scan, I do the handoff to Dr. Rich. Usually Dr. Rich is in there for maybe 5 minutes. Again, if you get sucked into a conversation, maybe 10. And then he'll either initiate the presentation in the back consult room, but if we have someone in the room next door, then typically we bring them up front to the consult room and do a session with them. Then usually that's where he takes the bulk of the time to sit down. He pulls out the models, explains. So I would say maybe 10-15 minutes for that.
Yeah.
And then Beth or I come in, and usually financing, when you start talking money, people have a lot of questions. So we could be in there anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour.
great. So time with the doctor, about 30 minutes. That seem
I
right?
would- Yeah,
That'd be on the outside, or that'd be the average?
I would say.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a higher estimate. I would say 30 minutes for those that like really need more detail, but I would say it'd be anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes.
Great, good. And then let's talk about this. So I've agreed, okay, listen, my wife's happy, I'm happy, I'm still a little bit shocked, but we've got our vacation in a couple weeks. So yeah, I accept these terms. How do you get me out of kind of like the maybe and into the beginnings of treatment so that it's now out of my mind and I have technically started, even though I'm not yet started?
Yeah.
So let's carry that scenario. So great. So I guess we'll get started when I'm back. I accept these terms and yeah.
Great, that's awesome that you guys have decided on the terms that you want to do. So the first step is we have to finalize all of the financing, and then we have to do impressions. Now, I know you said you want to wait till after your vacation. Now, the thing with this treatment is we have to take very detailed impressions and photos to send to a lab to make your temporaries and your surgical guide. Now, that process can take 6 to 8 weeks. So the best thing to do would be to get started today. I want to take all your impressions and photos today. That way, while you're on your vacation, we're busy working on your case. And when you come back from vacation, everything's ready to go. You have surgery and you wake up with your new teeth.
Well, okay, good. I mean, I'm already here a little bit longer than I planned. How long do these impressions and photos take?
10 minutes.
Oh,
Can you give me 10 minutes?
I can give you 10 minutes. Thank
Okay.
you. I don't want to sound unappreciative. I have, even though I'm semi-retired, I still have a schedule.
Oh, I totally get it. I'll make sure that once you're in that room, Dr. Rich is coming in, we'll take all those scans and get everything ready for you. And we'll have everything ready to go and we'll get you on with your schedule.
Fantastic. Okay, good. Perfect. So the point about this one is you're putting somebody in, they are now mid-treatment. They are not sitting on the precipice of decision and indecision or the possibility of being able to undecide.
Exactly.
And so I just want to make that point very, very clear. The importance of that is me walking out having, even signed financial papers, but not started treatment, still puts me in the position where I can now make a decision later. However, you've done the impressions, they're sent to the lab, we're, putting all this stuff together. I've driven the car off the lot, not to compare the car sales, but when you drive the car off the lot, it's your car now.
Your car, yeah. Well, these are your teeth.
And the thing about it is that it's a very painful place for people to be in this point of indecision or potential indecision. And they go do homework and they figure this out. And is this the right place? Is this the right decision? It could be cheaper at this other place down here that does corporate, implants and stuff. And maybe I should just go talk to them first. All that goes away when they've met you and they've started treatment. Now they're excited towards the result. So I think you both know that. I'm just solidifying that for all future people who might not know the importance of what you just did there, which is 100% spot on and awesome.
Yeah, that's actually like a policy that we have is if we are financing these cases, we do impressions that day. We, in the past, have brought them back another day, but guess what? They don't come back and they call and ask for you to cancel their loan. So,
right.
Yeah.
So awesome and so important. Good. Are there any other variables that we should talk about or discuss prior to now? I do want to talk about the fact that while you guys think about that question, you've got these recordings from the implant marketing funnel where they do a recorded phone call and they do a recorded treatment, virtual treatment consultation. Do you ever review that before the patient comes in?
They send us an overview of everything they talk about. They send us how much they get pre-approved for. They send us all their information via like an email.
So they'll send us.
So that's what we review.
Yeah, they'll send us the wife's name. If they're a decision maker, they send us how long this has been going on. Katie will even include in there, like, patient was very emotional during the conversation about how they got to this point, things like that. So we know what to touch on.
Fantastic. Good. Any other points that you guys think are valuable tips for others to know from your experience?
Just keeping the patient in the future mindset. So instead of saying like, if you decide to move forward. It's when you decide to move forward. When I walk them back to like take impressions, or sometimes even in the room, I'm like, well, what's the first thing you're going to eat once you have your final teeth? Or especially a lot with like moms who move forward with this treatment, a lot of times their biggest thing is they just want family photos with their kids. So it's like, I've even like walked them up and I'm like, hey, you know, if you want, I'll be on the lookout for a good photographer for you for after all this, like things like that. Just find their kind of reason why and like what gives them their willingness, and then just kind of just touch up on it a couple times throughout the consult. So like when you take that family photo, you better send me a copy of it. I'm going to frame it in the office, like things like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Can you give a couple more examples of where you've done that, and with what we call that the button, right? Like that's their button, that's their why, that's the thing that's most important to them. Can you give me some more examples where you found that to be maybe a common button, or one that came up, and how you've used that without it being weird, you know, without it being kind of,
We've had a couple where it's like they're getting ready for a wedding or their child getting married. Like,
or even just like, we used to have to wear masks, so now they're gone.
Yeah.
And people are, I had one the other day who was like, I just cover my mouth when I talk to people.
Mhm.
Great. And so how would you bring that up, and how would you, you know, kind of foster that, hey, we're solving that problem, isn't this exciting?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times we have a binder of before and after pictures of people. So just like showing them that and just being like, you know, like this is what you will have moving forward. Like you won't have to hide your smile or cover your mouth. You'll be able to talk to people freely, openly.
Rebuild your confidence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Good. Any others like that, common ones that have come up, and how you've
A lot of times we've had quite a few recovering drug addicts where when they look in the mirror, they just are reminded of that time in their life because their teeth are completely a wreck. I have one that I'm thinking of right now. He got out of jail a year and a half ago. He was just in yesterday. And every time he sees his previous smile, like he just remembers that time in his life being addicted to drugs and all this stuff. And now currently we're working on the no smoking because he's healing from surgery, and he's like, he came in and he was like, you'll be so proud of me. I'm down to half a pack a day. And I'm like, you had surgery 2 weeks ago. That's great. But like, let's keep it going. So literally, like, I will call you every day and say, like, you're not allowed to smoke. I was like, Chad, you're going to hear my voice in your head every time you go to smoke a cigarette. You're going to hear Kathleen being annoying, being like, no, no, no. But things like that, where it's just like, you know what? I want you to also move past that point of your life. You have a great job. You worked so hard to get to where you are. So like, let's just finish that process.
Yeah, we had someone also in the military, and he was like, his past was just like haunting him. He got his teeth fixed and he went right back overseas to kind of, you know, closure.
Yeah.
Beautiful story. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just other people that we had one woman that had her high school reunion coming up, and she didn't want people from her high school to know, you know, what she kind of let go. And so her big timeline was her high school reunion, and we were able to do it before then, but she just wasn't very embarrassed. She's like, I don't want to go back there and look like this. So, I mean, then you say, you know what, when you walk into the high school reunion, everyone's gonna be like, oh my gosh, look at her. Really, you look 10 years younger. Everyone's gonna be like, she didn't age a bit.
Fantastic. Okay, good.
Like, yeah, things like that. And you just make, you know, like, oh, you're gonna be voted best teeth at the reunion.
Love it. Love it. I love what you guys are doing. Now I want to talk about the final aspect, and I know we're a little bit over. Do I still have you for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So here's the final. So we talk about from the very beginning, obviously now they're coming in for the treatment. That's over to, you know, the surgical team and the doctor and such. They've made it through the treatment. Now it's testimonial time. What do you do and say to them to get their cooperation to agree to show the before and after photos and do a testimonial?
Well, I think even before that, we build so much like communication and trust with them too, that they're so willing when we ask.
We had a surgery 3 weeks ago. She came in for surgery and she was like, I would love to do a TikTok for you right now, but I'm so nervous, but you better put me in a TikTok later. She was like, I want Dr. Rich dancing down the hallways with me. And I was like, you know what, we'll make that happen. And they get so excited because we share those cases, or like they see the pictures and they're like, I want that to be me. And the biggest thing is, we do have some people that are like, you know, local doctors and things, and they don't want their patients to know that they've let their mouth go. But we have so many people that are so willing, because we're like, look at this patient, they see the testimonials, they see the books, and they're like, I want to be that person. And I think, like what Beth said, we build such good relationships with these people where we like joke around with them and they're just so willing. So when we sit down, usually Dr. Rich will initiate, like, hey, do you mind just saying a couple words about your experience? And he'll say, like, you don't have to talk about how much you love me, but just a little bit about your experience. And lately I've been going into film the testimonials, which I think has been a little bit better of a flow, because people are more willing to talk about, you know, Dr. Rich and what he does without him being the one like about me. So I think that works. And we have a list of testimonial questions that's printed out. It's on our desk. So when we go in for testimonials, read it over quick and just go in and go run through the questions. But people are so willing.
Awesome. What do you say to the person that is right now, they're concerned about their earlier smile being exposed to people and they're embarrassed about it? What do you say to that person about using before and after photos and testimonials?
When I have run into this in the past, I always validate, I understand where you're coming from, but think about what a huge testament it is that you were willing to take this leap and you were able to do this treatment. There are so many people in your position that are just as scared as you were, lacking self-confidence. So if you can be a voice that changes that for them, like, don't you want to be a part of that? You can be the one, like, you might be the one person that gets through to them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome. So thank you for all that. Fantastic. And that kind of concludes that. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay.